class was all about knowing who was the first person who got to read this particular book called Ashtavakra Samhita. Who was that person? Swami Vivekananda. Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Because he knew he was the Jnani, he was the enlightened being. He knew that this person, Narendra, has got special power. And he wanted him to take this energy of self-knowledge and self-realization to the world. That's why he gave that particular book for him to read, and by reading that particular book, which is Ashtavakra Gita, he became realized. And because he got the power to discriminate what is right and what is wrong, his energy within himself, the buddhi which is within himself of Vivekananda, the intellect became broadened, and when his intellect became broadened, he went into Ananda. And that's why Swami Vivekananda was being named after by Ramakrishna Paramahansa, because his Vivek means his knowledge became so enlightened. And when you are enlightened with your knowledge, what happens? You get into the bliss state. And that's how he called him Vivekananda. So he was the first person who read this particular text, Ashtavakra Gita. And as we go along, everyone sitting down here, you are all seekers and searching for reality. As I said before, there are three types of people who are seeking. One type of people who are always searching for things outside in the world. What are they? They are all sansari, worldly people. Second type of people are sannyasis, who are searching for reality and finding good in everything. And the last one? Jnanis. Jnanis are the ones who are already there, but yet they act as if they know nothing. They are the ones who are on the path, or they are the realized ones. So as Janaka was very inquisitive about life when he had a dream, and he didn't know what is truth, the dream or the world. His kingdom is truth, or when he goes to bed and he sleeps, in his sleep when he sees a dream, what is truth? So Janaka was inquiring, even though he had so many things, so much knowledge as well, he was still very much confused and he didn't know what was happening. So he asked Janaka's first question, which he asked Ashtavakra, was that he asked him this question, and the first verse of Ashtavakra Gita goes like this. Katham jnanam avapnoti, katham mukti avishyate, vairagyam cha katham praptam, etat bruhi mama prabhu. This was the first question which Raja Janak, or the king, asked Ashtavakra. Why did he ask Ashtavakra this particular question? Because he was inquiring what is real, what is truth, right? And the first question which he asked is a question for most of the people who are seeking reality, right? The Sansari people, they are always seeking and asking questions about material things, all the worldly things which they want to learn or want to receive when they go to a Jnani. Sannyasis are the people who are wanting the worldly things, and at the same time they are searching for reality. Reality means finding wisdom, finding liberation, finding non-attachment. So this verse which we are, which Janaka actually put it onto Ashtavakra, he said, Katham Jnanam Avapanoti, Katham Mukti Avishyati, Vairagyam Cha Katham Praptam Etat Bruhi Mama Prabhu. What does it mean? How does one attain wisdom? How does liberation happens? And how does non-attachment attained? Please tell me, O Lord. You know, Raja Janak was a very old king. Very old, matlab ki he was a very matured type of a person, but must be older. But this Ashtavakra, who was sitting with him, he brought him down, put him onto a beautiful throne. He treated him like a god. That's why he said, Etad bruhi, etad pratham, etad bruhi mama prabhu. Oh Lord, please explain to me. What is it? Why I'm confused? My anxiety is so strong, but I'm still confused. But are you, as an enlightened being, even though you are a 12-year-old person, I actually would like to know how to attain wisdom. I would like to know how does liberation happens, and I would like to know how non-attachment is attained. So as it goes along, the second verse which Ashtavakra replies, he said, O beloved, the first verse which he said, if you want liberation, then renounce the Vishaya, the passion of Visha, and take forgiveness, innocence, compassion, contentment, and truth as the nectar. Right? That was the first answer which Ashtavakra has given to Janaka. He said, if you wish to be free, shun the poison of senses, seek the nectar of truth, of love and forgiveness, simplicity and happiness. Right? This is what he said. That was the first answer he gave him. We'll elaborate about that further. But I'm going to read few of these things which, answers which Ashtavakra gave it to Janak. The second thing which he said, you are neither earth, nor air, nor fire, nor water, nor ether, means the elements. To attain liberation, know yourself as the witness, conscious of all these. Right? All this time we are saying that we are made out of 5 elements. Right? What is made out of 5 elements? We have been talking up till now that this body is made out of 5 elements. But Ashtavakra elaborates it and takes it to a different level. Here he says, you, earth, fire and water, the wind and the sky are none of these. That's what Ashtavakra says. But on which level he is talking about it, right? The third verse, what he says, this third sutra. If you can separate yourself from the physical body and rest in consciousness, then this very moment you will be happy, at peace, and free of bondages. You got to dwell onto this, right? So these are the third question, the third answer which he gave. Number 4th answer he gave, you are not a Brahmin or other caste. You are not in any of the 4 stages of life. We'll elaborate all these as we go ahead in the classes. You are not perceived by the eye or other senses. Unattached and without form, you are the witness of the whole entire universe. Know this and be happy. So these are the answers which Ashtavakra is giving to the sannyasi. And it is being said, set your body aside. This is the answer, very, very clearly Ashtavakra is saying. Set your body aside. Sit in your own awareness. You will at once be happy, forever still, forever free. Right? जब हम ध्यान करते हैं ना, when we sit for meditation, what did I say before? Just bring all the awareness here in the now, right? Don't think about anything. Just be here in the now. So that is this verse which is telling you, set your body aside. Sit in your own awareness. You will at once be happy, forever still, forever free. And the fifth verse which is said, O expensive one, religion and atheism, happiness and misery, all are of the mind. They are not for you. You are not the doer nor the enjoyer. You have always been liberated. What does that mean? You have no caste. See, as I said before, we have so many preconceived ideas about our life. So much we have been filled in since we have been born. Preconceived ideas, do these predictions, that predictions, whatever our parents have taught us, whatever the country has taught us, whatever we have learned through all our ego, whatever we learn outside, whatever we learn, Ashtavakra says it's a waste of time. Empty the vessel which you have. And that's what he is trying to tell us. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. So what we are relearning over here, as we go along, we will learn more. What we are relearning. All those preconceived ideas, as I say, some scars which we are holding on to, habits which we are holding on to. He says, it's no point. It is all good, but it's no point having all those things because there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no religion, there is nothing. There is no habits. All what it is you. And what is that you? The being who you are. Right? You have no caste, no duties can bind you. Formless and free, beyond the reach of the senses, the witness of all things. So be happy. What we are looking for, everyone? What are we all looking for? Happiness. Isn't that true? Are we looking for happiness? How many of you are looking for bliss? Happiness comes and goes. Bliss comes and goes. What stays permanently? Both of them can stay permanently. It's how you perceive it. If you want happiness, you go and look for all the material things which makes you feel happy. But if you want bliss, you got to get into the reality now, detach from all those things which makes you happy, and just stay into that bliss, just enjoying that moment to moment life that will take you to bliss. That's what we are all searching for. Aren't you searching for bliss? We are all searching for bliss. We are all searching for Ananda. That's why I say, I, pure soul, living in this body is prana, in the prana is mind, in the mind is knowledge, and in the knowledge is our bliss. We live in Sat Chit Ananda. We are living in the state of bliss because who is living in the state of bliss? Truth. Awareness. That's what it is, living in bliss. So we need to come into that state of bliss, means by studying this particular text, studying this Ashtavakra Gita, more and more go deeper into it and meditate upon it, then you will see that everything which we do in our in this world, with our body, without the body, everything will be turning into Ananda. So this is the process of getting into the state of bliss and getting into the state of becoming a true Atma-Jnani, right? Becoming a realized being. So that's what we are all in the process for. As I said, we are all on a journey. We have many scriptures, but none is comparable to the Gita of Ashtavakra. So many scriptures we have learned, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, there are so many Bibles, Quran, so many things, scriptures we have got, lots of Puranas. But every Purana tells you to understand the power of reality. But Ashtavakra Gita is very crystal clear. It tells you direct to the point. When he talks to Raja Janak, he talks directly to the point. This is what you need to understand. And there is no in and outs, there is no questions asked. You just practice that, or you just don't even have to practice, just be that. So that's what he says. You won't be able to add even a small bit of your own interpretation when you start to understand the power of Ashtavakra Samhita. That's what it is. This is why I say we are starting off a very rare journey. Every one of us, we've been, as I said to you, when you came into my life, from that day, the Ashtavakra started in your life. Whatever we have discussed, whatever we have talked, it's all a combination of all those things which we have learned, practiced. This whole Ashtavakra Gita is summarizing for all what you have learned up till now. To all our saint devotees who is sitting down here. So, this is the journey which we have started again, another journey, and it is a very rare journey. And this particular journey is not for everyone. This particular journey is for the seekers, the real seekers who are asking for Sat Chit Ananda. Before we enter the sutras, it is necessary to understand few things about Ashtavakra. He says that when you are born, you were just a seed. Remember this. When every one of us, when we were born, we are born out of a seed. The seed from the father went into the mother, and that seed has brought you for what you are in the now. And that seed is what? It brings all those things. Just like if you think about it, when you see a seed of a mango, where did it come from? It came from a mango tree. Isn't that true? Or it came from a guava tree, or it came from a grape tree, or it came from some other tree. When you see a mango seed, it has come from the mango tree, right? When we are born, you have been a seed, right, before you were born. When you look at the seed, you can find no indication of what type of flower this will turn into, what type of fruit it will turn into. You know, when a child is being born, as soon as he touches this earth, it was born out of seed. But the child doesn't even understand the power of where did it come from. All what it says, koham, koham, koham. When the baby starts to cry, when it's first come out of the mother's womb, what does it say? Koham, koham. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? You know, that's what the baby cries. You know, lots of people say, oh, it said ma, ma, ma. It didn't say ma. It says, koham, who am I? That's what the baby says. So that's the seed which has germinated. What am I? Who am I? That is the first question a human starts to ask as soon as they are born. Any child, right? So when you look at the seed, you find no indication of a flower that it will grow. And if you see a child, we always make predictions. Oh, this is a divine child. We can make up predictions of this is a beautiful child, but this is something divine. But the child doesn't even know that who that child is as soon as they touch the earth, right? But every one of us, we make predictions and they say that's a divine child, that's a divine child, that child will turn into something. Oh, the father is like that, the child will become like the father. The father is like that, mother is like that, the child will become. We always make predictions of other child. But in reality, when you come into the senses, when you come into the reality, when you come into the state of understanding, and when you become a seeker, first thing, the seeker's question is, who am I? And that's what Janaka said. Janaka asked Ashtavakra, how can I be liberated? How can Vairagya come into me? What is wisdom? Wisdom is always there. But how can we receive that knowledge and take wisdom out of that knowledge, as I say? There is not even a clue of what it can be. It will be a lotus blossoming in the water, but remaining untouched by it. We can choose the purpose of our life. This is what it has been said. When we understand the power of who am I, you would understand the purpose of your life. Lots and lots of people, they say, I know, I know, I know. But what they know? What do they know? Do they know the purpose of their life? When you come into reality, when you become into the reality, means when you are searching for Atma Gyan, that is what is the real purpose, which Ashtavakra says. Ask the purpose of your life. Who am I? So we can think of two ways. Either we can hold on to that seed which we are once. You are as Atma Gyani. I'm not talking to those samsaris who are outside of this place. I'm talking to all the Gyanis who are sitting down here. All of you, you are Atma Gyanis. You are all seekers. You are sannyasis. You are Gyanis. Either, whichever one you want to be. That's the seed which is inside of you. That's why you are sitting down here. You've chosen this purpose of life. You have chosen this journey in the now. You know what you are here for. Right? So either we can hold tight to that seed which we have. Whatever is not visible in that seed can happen. Right? Whatever you as a seed, you know. Am I the son of Mr. and Mrs. or am I the son of the divine? These are the two questions we need to know. Am I a son and a daughter of a body, or am I a son and a daughter of the whole entire universe? Who am I? That is the first question which every one of us we need to ask every moment to moment to moment to moment, not every day. Now you are all Atma Gyanis. You need to ask yourself every moment, who am I? Kaun hu main? Ko hum? Right? Repeat that question over and over again to yourself. So we can think in two ways, as I say. But there are always some arguments which creates conflict in between us. You know why does this conflict come to us? Because we have so many preconceived ideas in our mind. So many thoughts we have accumulated all this time. No. He's got more blessing. She's got more blessing. I don't have any more blessing. How can I be Atma Gyani? We don't realize we are all came from that same universal tree, which is Paramatma. Right? And Ashtavakra very beautifully explains each and every stanzas, each and every sutras. It explains to us how can we be detached. How many of you know that you are a pure soul? How many of you really believe that you are a pure soul? How many of you trust that you are a pure soul? Isn't that true? You trust you are a pure soul, but you are a sannyasi. You are in the two worlds. You are first in the body. As soon as you come out of yourself, you are out of the body. When you close your eyes, you are in the body. When you open your eyes, you are outside of your body. Right? That's why meditation allows you to go in and out all the time. That's why the thoughts always disturbing your peace and made you into so many pieces. Every one of us, if you think about it, we are in so many pieces. Why we are in so many pieces? Because there is so much in our mind. So it says here, but there is always some arguments the mind creates, but lots of judgments, and makes us something else instead of our original seed which we are. The original seed which we are is what we are. But the mind, which the bundle of thoughts which we have, doesn't allow us to be the seed which we are. And who is the creator of that thoughts? Who's the creator of the thoughts? It's yourself. Your being. Right? So as we go along, Janaka had the same thing. He had such a big kingdom. So many things he has. He had so many knowledge. He read so many books, but he found so many knowledge out of the books, but wisdom was not coming out. The whole purpose of every Atma Jnani is to look for more wisdom which is coming through from inside of us. You know, when we talk to somebody, wisdom should come out of more than you giving knowledge to anyone. Knowledge is great when you are sitting down and talking to masses like this, talking to people like this. talking to groups like this, talking to, friends and relatives, they don't want to hear all these things. But talking to Gyanis, Atma Gyanis, or Samsaris, or devotees, that's what you give them the knowledge. But when you are alone by yourself, you talk to yourself and you will see lots and lots of wisdom which will come out of you. And that's the whole journey of a Atma Jnani. Find all the wisdom from all the knowledge which you have accumulated up till now. So the first sutra, as I said, how knowledge can be acquired. Katham jnanam avapanoti. Katham means how, jnanam means knowledge, avapanoti means acquire. Katham mukti avishyate. How, katham means how, mukti means liberation, avishyate will be. Vairagyam means detachment and renunciation. Cha means end, katham means how, pratham etada. This is secured. Tell, Bruhi, Mama, me, Prabhu, Lord. So this is the first question Janaka asked Ashtavakra. How does one attain wisdom? How does liberation happen? How does non-attachment attain? Please tell me, O Lord. Tell me, O Lord, explain it to me. So as I said, Janaka was a very small boy, 12-year-old boy. This king, he said, "O Lord, Bhagavan, this king who is a one who rules the whole kingdom, he is bowing down to an ordinary child and saying to that child, you are Bhagavan." When you become a Jnani, there is no age, right? Remember that. When you are an Atma Jnani, there is no age. No one. Atma Jnanis are all those people who have got long hair, matted hair, big dadi, orange robe. They can look like Atma Jnani, but they have no Jnana within themselves. They can be, and they cannot be. Atma Jnani can be a 5-year-old child even. Atma Jnani can be anyone. There is no age for Atma Jnani. So Raja Janaka, he asked this 12-year-old child and he said to him, "Oh Bhagavan," see this is very important for everyone. "Oh Bhagavan." Why did he call him Bhagavan? Are you getting it or no? Huh? Make sure you write it down as well, some of the things which is, because this is a journey for everyone. You are not here as samsaris sitting down. Every one of you, you are seeking it. And this is just like as Janaka was sitting with Ashtavakra. Janaka was sitting with Ashtavakra, and these are the questions which Janaka has had. And most of the time you have come and you have asked this body, this person, the same questions. Also you have asked all the material questions as well. But these are the questions which you have already asked many times. How can I be free? I'm so caught up into the drama. I can't detach. These are the questions. So this is Janaka. You are all Janaka sitting here. You are inquiring. So Janaka said to Ashtavakra, "Give some understanding to this unknowing person, right? Awaken the ignorant person like me and show me the direction towards Godhead," means towards enlightenment, right? Janaka knew everything. Still he asked this question. Janaka also knew all the scriptures. What Janaka was really asking was, he wanted to know, and his question was about self-inquiry. And every one of us, we are sitting down here, we are inquiring about the self. That is what is called self-inquiry comes first. Then as we go along, self-realization happens. So these are the things. Why it happened and why this realization, how does realization come as we go along? Even though we have everything, we still feel empty. right? And as I said, we are lacking things like loneliness, sense of loneliness. We are always looking for something, but we feel very lonely even we have. Sense of incompleteness, sense of limitations. Greatest thing which we are lacking in our life is, what are we lacking? Sense of fear. Every one of us is so much into fear. Fear of many different things. But the greatest fear is fear of death. Right? I've spoken about it last week. Janaka asked him, how does liberation happen? What is liberation? Explain to me the wisdom which liberates me. Freedom is man's most important longing. Every one of us, we need to remember this. We want to be free from all sorts of worries and tension. Ashtavakra teaches us very beautifully. How can we be free from all sorts of worries and tension? In this particular moment, every one of us is worried about something. Isn't that true? We are lacking something in life. Even though you have got so much, but we are lacking something, which is we are longing for something. What are you longing for? Longing for? What are you longing for? Huh? Happiness. Peace. That is the biggest thing which everyone is looking for. Aren't you looking for peace? Ananda will be there. First you find Ananda, then you will become peaceful. That is what we are looking for. Swami says, Satya Sai Baba says, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. Satya means truth. Dharma means right conduct. Shanti means peace. Love. And then Ahimsa. These are the 5 things which our Sadguru has taught us. Satya Sai Baba has taught us. Ashtavakra goes even deeper on that. We'll talk about it. Freedom is man's most important longing. That's what we are all looking for. You know, I can read all the verses and explain all the verses in 1 hour. It's a waste of time. Because we are just like reading a poem. When we break each and every verse of this Ashtavakra Gita, you understand more. And you will understand even better. So that's why I'm just taking you into that deep level of understanding. What is our freedom? Freedom, longing for what is the purpose of our life? Our purpose of our life is looking for freedom, and we are looking for freedom from a long time. Freedom means mukti. There is no word which can explain. Mukti, if you break that word, mukti, if you break that word, mukti means moksha. Right? If you break that word moksha, moho ko shay karo. Moho means everything which is outside of us. We need to shun that. You know, Ashtavakra, how he says it, will go further. Janaka asked, how does liberation happen? And how is non-attachment attained? You know, Ashtavakra must have looked carefully into this Janaka. Right? So when you go to a Jnani, when you go to Atma Jnanis hardly ever talk. They will just look at you. When we go to Babaji, he never talks. All what he does is smile. What is there for Atma Jnani to talk about? He just goes directly and touches your heart. That's where he's talking to. He touches your inner reality. That's why he's talking to. The Janaka, what happened when he questioned this, because he was so much in anxiety, he didn't know what to question this Ashtavakra. So Ashtavakra looked at him. With his pierced eyes, he looked into Janaka. And when he looked into him, the first thing Ashtavakra thought this person is inquiring. When any Atma seekers, when they come to their guru or to their Sadguru or to their master, what they first, they look at them, right? Like Ramakrishna Paramahansa. When he entered, Narendra entered into his ashram, Narendra didn't ask anything. He said, just tell me where is God. But Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he knew who he was. He knew who he was. But he wanted him to question. Narendra to question. So Narendra just said to him, I don't believe in anything. What is God you talking about? Where is God? I don't believe in God and all those things. That is how the question and answer starts to begin between a devotee, a disciple, and a guru. Always the Jnani or Atma Jnani or gurus, they are waiting for the question to be asked. One question asked, thousands of answers come. Just one question. You might have noticed, sometimes you ask one question in satsang, it goes for about 2-3 hours. Sometimes whole night it goes till 3 a.m. So much of talking. What does the Jnani do? Jnani is just waiting for a question to be ignited. When you just spark is the question, answers is the full fire. That's what it is. So Janaka knew that this Ashtavakra will tell me something. So as soon as he asked a question, Ashtavakra started looking at him. And he just knew that this person is inquiring about something. So let me know, what is he inquiring about? He observed him attentively. From what source of inquiry this question which he has asked me is coming from? Which is, Ashtavakra is thinking in himself. Why has the question been asked in this way? Why? Because he was confused. When you are confused, you jumble the questions. Just to make conversation, you mix up all the questions here and there and everywhere. So Janak actually asked the question in a very non-orderly way. You know? Why has the questionnaire asked me questions in a very non-order way? It has been said the master's answer can be significant only if he understands clearly why the question is being asked. Remember this. Right? We need to remember, this is another thing which everyone needs to remember. We need to remember a person who has attained truth, which is a master, does not answer your question, he answers you. Remember this. When you go to a Atma Jnani, when you go to a Satguru, he doesn't answer your question, but he answers you. That's what we need to remember. This is something which we need to remember. As an Atma Jnani, sometimes you sit here and you ask your Guru, this is what I'm asking, this is what I'm asking. But he doesn't answer the question which you have asked, he will answer something different, which is you. It has been said, a master does not answer your question, he answers you. Who is you? You are Atma Jnanis. Right? A Jnani won't bother what you ask. He is more concerned why you have asked. Right? When you come to a Jnani, when you come to a master, or when you come to a Guru, they always think, what is the purpose behind this question, right? What is behind the question? The complex hidden in this question is very unconscious, right? What desire is actually hiding behind the screen of this question? क्या purpose है? कौन reason से ये question कर रहा है, right? So I tell you, there are 4 types of questionnaires in this world. or there are four types of people, or devotees, or disciples. It has been said that there is four types of people in this world. You may notice it as well, because since you are all Atmagyanis now, you are all seekers, you will see there are four types of people in your life as well, and four types of people in the world as well. The first type of people which you see daily or maybe once in a while is the wise one. Right? Who are the wise? Enlightened being, realized being, divine souls, divine masters. They are the first type of people which you are seeing. Second is the type of people which you see, they are seekers. Very spiritual minded people. They will be doing japas, they will be doing puja, they will be learning more, they are seekers. Third type of people you will see in your life are ignorant people. Ignorant people, right? And the fourth type of people you see in your life are idiots. You can judge it yourself. Is this a wise man? Is this a seeker? Is this a ignorant being? Or this is just an fool in front of you? So there are four types of people which you are looking for answers. And there are four types of inquiry as well. They do four types of inquiry. The first type of, I'm answering the verse of Ashtavakra and Janaka's question over here. It has started. The journey has started. You are on the journey. The first verse is very, very important. And what is the first verse? Katham jnanam avapanoti. Right? That is the first verse. And it continues as well. So, the inquiry here, which Janaka actually asked Ashtavakra. And as I said, there are four types of inquiry. The first inquiry is wordless. Right? Remember that. First type of inquiry is wordless. Wordless. See, when we were walking, when we went to see our Baba in Prashanti Nilayam, when Swami was physically present, all what you see is Baba is walking around you, thousands and thousands of people are sitting there. Sometimes there are so many thousands that you don't know. But Baba is not saying anything. All what he does is this. He is not talking to you. But where he is talking, from where he is talking to us. That is an inquiry which a wise does with the other wise. A jnani. One who doesn't need to be questioned, but he always knows what's happening with every devotee or disciples of him. So the first inquiry which a wise will do, they won't question, they will just sit and look at you. If you go to Babaji, he's a wise being, human being, but yet he is enlightened being, right? The first inquiry is wordless, the inquiry of the wise, the jnani, the one who knows everything. These are the first type of people, as I say. Actually, the inquiry of the wise is not an inquiry at all. He knows nothing is left to be unknown by him. He has reached, the mind has been clear, and his mind is very calm. He has come home. He has come to the state of relaxation. Right? State of relaxation. What is state of relaxation? First day, what did I say? What did I say first day? When your mind is totally taken away from all sorts of thoughts, you become thoughtless. You're living only in the now, moment to moment, from thoughtlessness to, from restlessness to thoughtlessness. So Atmajnani are always resting up here, not with the physical body, but resting up here in their mind. He knows nothing is left to be known. Sometimes when devotees come and a message was being transferred to that person, or transferred into the group. When a jnani tells something to his devotees or disciple, in return, what the devotees do? They put their questions on top of what, or they put their answers on top of their answer. So one message is being given, but there are multiple messages comes back. It's like there is a, Swamiji needs to know this, because I know better. Happens, eh? A jnani knows everything. No matter if you put it or no put it. It is there. So that is the quality of a jnani. He knows everything. We can't teach a jnani, and we cannot explain to a jnani, because a jnani knows everything. In a sense, that's why Swami used to say, I know, I know, I know. Baba used to say, I know, I know, I know. How does he know? I know, I know, I know. Baba always used to say, I know, I know, I know. I know that I am God. You don't know you are God. That's what Swami used to say all the time. That is the quality of a Atmajnani, a self-realized, enlightened being. He knows nothing is left to be known. He has reached, the mind has become calm and clear. The mind has become calm and clear. He has come home. He has come to the state of relaxation. And that is what our purpose of life is, peace. है ना, शांति. कहाँ हम ढूंढते हैं शांति? शांति कब आएगा? जब हम शांति को बुलाएंगे. When we will call peace, then peace will automatically come to you, right? And as we go along, so a jnani's inquiry is not an inquiry at all. This does not mean that a jnani is not ready to learn, right? Remember that. This doesn't mean that an enlightened being doesn't need to be learned. You see, a jnani, Atma Jnani, they are always busy with some sort of reading. They are always busy with connecting. They are always busy with, living the life to the fullest, connecting with the trees, connecting with the mountains, connecting with books, connecting with wisdom, connecting with some nice satsang, connecting with bhajans. They are always engrossed into that bliss state. Why? Because bliss state. Why bliss state? Why they are connecting? Because that's the food for the soul. Atma Jnani is always feeding the soul with lots and lots of knowledge and wisdom, right? That's the quality of Atma Jnani. A Jnani becomes very simple. He's just like a child. He fits himself anywhere. Shirdi Baba used to play marble with the little children. But he was God. He was a Sadguru. But he used to play marble with all the little kids. He is just like a child. Swami used to give lots and lots of jokes to the children. Sadguru plays what? He rides his bike. Sadguru Jaggi Vasudev. What does he do? He plays cricket. He enjoys the life to the fullest. What does he say? Enjoy the life to the fullest. Do everything. He's just like but he's a Sadguru. And that's what Bhagwan Baba, he relates to us. When you are with men, you are men. When you are with woman, you are woman. When you are with children, you are children. When you are alone, when you are God incarnate. Just remember this. We need to be like that as well, as Atma Jnani. We need to mix our energies. As we go along, you know how I will explain to you how to mix your energy. Right? So at that moment, at this particular moment, everything is God. At the particular moment, everything is good. At this moment only. But as you go along, as the Ashtavakra goes and tells you how to be disciplining those everything is good and mixing yourself with all the energies, then you will realize, wow, this is what it is. The more you learn, the more readiness to learn will increase in you. This is a quality of a Jnani. Remember this. This is not a class which you are looking for further, or you are looking for something which is going to come. This is the class. This is your need to put this into your reality, into your life. This is what you need to understand. It's no point just sitting down and just listening to this discourse. This is not a discourse. This is a class of a Atma Jnani. The more you learn, the more readiness to learn will increase in you. Remember that. जितना हम ज्ञान सीखेंगे उतना ही ज्ञान हमसा हमारा बढ़ेगा, और जितना ज्ञान हम बांटेंगे उतना ही ज्ञान आएगा. Remember that. The more you share the knowledge, the more you share the wisdom, the more knowledge will come to you. This is very important, and that's the quality of a Atma Jnani. The more you become simple and innocent, the more you are open to learning. That is the quality of a Atma Jnani. Atma Jnani's quality is just to receive the energy of learning. Learning what? Life. Winds come and find your door is open. Knowledge is always, just see yourself, you are just an open person. The wind will come and they will come into you, they'll take your energy, they'll fill you up with so much of power. The sun will come and go right direct to your heart, touch you, right? It doesn't even knock the door, the elements. They just come inside of you, the energy, when you are an open Atma Jnani. A Jnani does not collect knowledge, he simply has the capacity to know as well. A Jnanis never collect knowledges as well. So many people have that idea of collecting, this is for me, this is for me, this is for me. A Jnani doesn't collect knowledge, it just comes to you, right? You are Atma Jnani. You know what is coming to you. What is your capacity to know? Understand this well, because it is very useful to you. Jnani simply means one who is open totally to learning, who has no prejudice, who has no buffer against learning, who has no pre-planned system or structure of knowing. A Jnani is a Dhyani. There's a Jnani sitting down here. Her sister's name is Dhyani. Dhwani. Oh, her sister's name is Dhwani. Dhwani is sitting next to Jnani. And after Dhwani and Jnani mix together, there will be Dhyani. They will become a true meditators by listening to Ashtavakra Gita. This is how it all happened. When Ramakrishna Paramhansa, he knew that this being, Narendra, has got some sort of power. That's why he brought them to the ashram. Definitely this person who is in front of us, this two beautiful person, there is a purpose for them. Her name is Dhyani. Dhwani. Dhwani means the one beautiful voice. And the other person is Jnani. When Dhwani and Jnani are together, what comes? What ignites over there? Dhyani. They become meditators. So think of it, by the end of the year you might be a true Dhyani. You might be the youngest one sitting next to you. Jnani simply means one who is open to learning, who has no prejudice. A Jnani means a Dhyani, one who meditates. Every one of us, you are all Jnanis. You are just meditating all the time, accepting things as how it is. But you need to connect with that connection. That is what it is, the focus of life. Ashtavakra must have observed carefully, looked at Janak and seen this person as not a Jnani. He has not attained meditation, otherwise his inquiry would be silent. There would be no words to be asked. So Janaka, the second type of person, here it comes, right? Janaka was not a Atma Jnani because he couldn't meditate. Why he couldn't meditate? Because as soon as he's sitting for meditation, what happens? All the things started disturbing his peace because he was a king. Just imagine, when you are a king, where is your mind? Will you be able to sleep well? When you are a millionaire, where is your mind? Will you be able to meditate? And you have 10 or 12 wives and girlfriends, will you be able to meditate? When you have so many houses, will you be able to meditate? No. When you have so much filled in up here, you will never be able to meditate. So Janaka, even though he was seeking for something, even though he was looking for Atma Gyan, he couldn't meditate. So Janak was not a Jnani. He has not attained meditation. Otherwise, his inquiry would be silent. If he would have attained meditation, he would be just quiet and simple, looking at Ashtavakra Gita, Ashtavakra, and they started to just have eye-to-eye contact and just fall in love with each other. So that's what Ashtavakra thought, that he is not a meditator. He is a seeker only. Right? I tell you a beautiful story about what Lord Buddha, about an incident happened in Buddha's life. A fakir came to meet him. A lone ascetic came to see him, a wanderer. He came and said to Buddha, I have no words capable of asking. I have no skill to bring what I want to ask into words. You know it already. So this is a seeker who's asking Buddha, you know it everything. Understand and say what is right for me. This is the inquiry of one who is wanting to know. Right? This is when some devotee came to him and he said, I don't need to ask you any question, but you know what is my life. Right? He didn't ask any question, he just sat in front of Buddha, and Buddha just smiled at him, and he smiled at each other. He smiled at each other, and just they're smiling at each other. Buddha was sitting silently, he didn't say anything. After a short time, it seemed as if something happened. You know, sometimes when you sit in front of a master, you just sit. And as you are sitting in front of your teacher or master, you know, you can't say anything. But something ignites in you and you start to have tears rolling out of your eyes. Sometimes you start smiling. Sometimes you feel so enlightened. Sometimes you feel so good. Sometimes you don't even know where you are. The time just goes, you know. You're sitting, you come and sit in front of the temple, in the mandir. You come for 5 minutes, but your 5 minutes turns into 5 hours sometimes. And you don't even speak, but you just want to be in that process. So this devotee, he came to Buddha and he was just sitting silently. He didn't say a thing. After a short time, it seemed as if something happened. The man had been looking at Buddha, and now his eyes started overflowing with tears. He bowed down to Buddha and said, Thank you. I'm really fortunate. You gave me what I came here for. He got up and then he slowly moved. His face was radiating with so much of beautiful aura, and he was so enlightened, so full of bliss that he started dancing. He didn't say anything. All what he did, he looked at him, he stayed for a little while, and then he started dancing and he just left with so much of bliss. The disciples around Buddha, what they were thinking, my God, we've been with him for so long, we have never felt like this. You know, he came and just by sitting in front of him, he's already got the thing, whatever he wanted, and he's gone. He's happy. But we have been with him for so long, we've never been happy with this Buddha. Happens, in people's life. Buddha was sitting silently. He didn't say a word, but he got enlightened, and then after a short time, it seems as if something has happened. The man had been looking at Buddha and he left, right? With thanks. The disciples around Buddha were confused. Right? They got so confused. One of the disciples, he asked, it is a mystery. First, this man came to you and he said to you, I don't have to ask you anything. I don't know anything, what I have to ask. I don't know even what I have to ask you. But you know everything. This is what someone who came to the temple, into your shrine, and this is what he has asked. Look at me. Say whatever is needed for me. Tell me now. How can I be in ecstasy like him? How can I be in bliss like him? First, this man was in mystery. Is this any way of inquiry? If you don't know what to ask, then why ask at all? Right? No point asking, just sit and just be. But the matter doesn't end here, right? It says, you were sitting silently and you went on sitting silently. When he asked or when he looked at you, I thought you would say something. This is another disciple which is saying to Buddha, you will say something, but he didn't say anything. You were silently sitting as well. You know, when you go to Babaji, he doesn't say anything, you just sit down with him. And you get so engrossed by looking at him. And then he gets up and goes. Or either you get up and go, he will say, go. No. We have never seen you sit in such a mood. This is this disciple, another disciple is telling Buddha. If someone asks you, you answer them. But this time he didn't even ask, you didn't say anything, you were just looking at him. Sometimes it happens when someone doesn't ask, you still answer them. This is the disciple, another disciple saying to Buddha, you still answer them even they don't say anything. Your compassion is always flowing. I can understand that. That you're loving every being from your heart. What happened? That suddenly you went silent and your eyes went closed. This is the disciple, Ananda, is asking Buddha, saying to him. And then it happened that the man began to get transformed in front of you and he started to dance. Right? We saw him changing in front of you. Still you didn't say anything. You just sat in closed eyes and you're looking at him. We saw him undergoing a complete happiness. We saw his ecstasy coming over him. He has gone dancing, flowing with tears, overwhelmed, ecstasizing, ecstatic. He bowed down to your feet. His fragrance of the touch which he had inside of you made him feel so powerful. What has happened? You didn't utter a word. How did this happen? How did this happen? How did he hear you? This is the question which his disciple is asking Buddha. And we are here with you for so long time. This never happened. Is your compassion less towards us? Ananda is saying to Buddha, is this compassion less towards us? Why don't you receive the grace? Why don't we receive the grace? What you're giving it to the others. Right? So Buddha very beautifully explains here. Remember, Buddha is saying, but remember, you get as much as you are able to receive. Buddha then answered Ananda. Buddha said, listen, you horses. Swami used to say, listen, you bulls and cows. Wherever you come from, he will tell that's what you are. You bulls, and he said to the New Zealand youths, bulls and cows. Listen, you horses. Buddha said to his disciple, there are 4 types of horses in our life. Now he talks about horses. There are 4 types of horses. One type will not budge an inch even if you whip them. The most worthless of all horses. Right? That's the first type of horse. One type will not budge even an inch even you whip them. You know, होते हैं ना कभी कठोर लोग, है ना? ढीठ होते हैं ना, कोई बोलते हैं very strong, stubborn. इतना मार रहता है फिर भी हटते नहीं है. They are the first type of horse. Right? The more you whip them, the more they are stubborn. In people's life, that's what it is. The more you hit them, the more stubborn they will become. They will never resist. Right? They stand still. A stubborn is a hatha yogi, it has been said. They will just want to be. Hata means they will never move. Strong, still. If you whip them, you only provoke resistance. Right? The second type of horse, if you whip them, they move. Right? If you don't whip them, they won't move. At least they are better than the first type. At least they are moving. Right? The third type of horses, this is what Buddha is explaining to Ananda. And he's explaining the 4 types of devotees here. Right? And there is a third type of horse, just you crack the whip. And strike them, not necessarily, but you just crack them on the, when you crack the whip, what it makes a sound. No, you just crack the whip. Just cracking the whip, the sound is enough for that horse to move. Chaukas ho jate hain, right? They are more understanding, and they are better than the first one and the second one. Hil jate hain, devotees. And then you must know the horses which run just as soon as they hear or see the shadow of a whip. The fourth type of horses, the fourth. As soon as वो सुनते हैं ना, our children, sometimes we tell them, go to bed or else boogeyman is coming. We used to tell Ishan, the man from Kaimat is coming. Straight away he was in bed. There is no Kaimat man, but he knew that there is something called Kaimat. Now he's working in Kaimat. 18-year-old. So there are 4 types of horses in life. Some are very stubborn. Second one is, they move a little bit if you whip them. The third one is you strike it on the ground. And the fourth one, just by listening to the word whip, they start shaking. So these are. Then you must know those horses which run just by seeing the shadow of the whip, you don't even need to crack him. That man was the kind of horse, the shadow was enough for him. When a devotee comes to sit in front of a guru, that is the last that they don't even have to speak anything. They only know that my master is sending the energy to me. That is what here Ashtavakra is telling. Just by sitting in front of an enlightened being, a true jnani, you receive all the power. That's what it is. That is the fourth type of it. Ashtavakra, this is what Ashtavakra was looking in Janaka. When you come to ask something, you yourself have a question. You ask yourself. When you come to ask me something, you yourself are a question. More importantly than what you are going to ask. Sometimes you may feel that I have answered a question you didn't even ask. How many of you have experienced that? Whatever you thought at home, when you come and sit in a discourse, you don't even have to ask a question, but the answer is there. A true jnani will speak to your heart, whatever you have. You will listen. Sometimes you may also feel that I have answered a question you didn't ask. And perhaps you even feel I have avoided your question. Sometimes you have that thing inside of you. Sometimes you feel that I have avoided your question. I have sidestepped you. Right? And answered something else which is going inside my head. But for me, your inner need is always more important. What you asked is not important because you yourself don't really know what you are asking about it. That's what it is. A seeker, sometimes they don't even know what they are asking. And as soon as the mind takes over, complaint starts. Right? The answer is being given only for your needs. Remember that. Sometimes when you are sitting with a jnani, A jnani will only answer your needs, not your wants. Sometimes things doesn't happen in people's life. And things doesn't happen according to their timing. So no, it's not a good guru. I go to another one because they didn't fulfill my question. A true jnani will always answer your needs, right? As it has been said, that's the first thing which we have learned in our life. The needs will always come to us without even asking, but the wants will take time to be received. So when you are sitting with a jnani only fulfills your needs. Needs, not food, water, shelter. Needs means realization. Realization of the self, right? So here, Janaka is asking a question. And what Ashtavakra is giving is fulfilling his needs, not his just ordinary question. He is knowing what he has to give him because he knows that this Janak is needing something and he is going to fulfill his needs. Ashtavakra must have seen that Janak is not a jnani, right? He is not a seeker. No, he is not a ignorant being, right? But he is a seeker. As I said before, how many types of people? The first one? No? Wise. Second one? Seeker. Third one? Ignorant. So Ashtavakra is saying to himself, he is not an ignorant, he is a seeker. But he is not ignorant as well. He is still, am I saying all these things? He is still not ignoring it. He is craving to know what is reality. Ignorant person is always arrogant. This is a quality of an ignorant person. An ignorant person will always be arrogant. He stands very proudly and erect in himself. He doesn't even know how to bow down. Sometimes when people come and you see people, they don't respect. They are ignorant beings. They don't understand the power of everything. They won't even bow. And this man has bowed down to me. What a great person he is. So ignorant people, they will just totally ignore. Sometimes when people come to the temple, he will send the wife, go inside and do your business, what you have to do. I'm just a taxi driver. I brought you here. They won't even come to the door. They will be sitting inside their car. They won't even come to inside and see that there is God's temple over here. They are ignorant beings. They are very arrogant. So these are the people who are surrounded amongst us. They don't believe in anything. Atheist बोलते हैं ना. They don't believe in anything, yet they have some sort of fear inside of them. But still they are very ignorant. So because Ashtavakra is saying he's not even ignorant because he's bowing down to me. So he's a seeker. He's stretching his full body to me and asking me as a 12-year-old child, he's asking a question about how to be liberated and how to be getting moksha and how to be getting the knowledge. He's asking me. This is impossible that he is ignorant. The ignorant thinks he is always knows everything. See, ignorant people, what you can see. Ignorant people will always say that I know everything. है ना, कभी किसी को हम कुछ सिखाते हैं ना. It happens in families especially. I know everything. तुम जाओ मंदिर. तुम्हारे लिए है, मेरे लिए नहीं है. I know everything. Who is Rama, who is Krishna, who is Buddha. You go. That's for you. That is the quality of ignorance. But Janaka saying this is not an ignorant being. He is inquiring. This is impossible for ignorant. The ignorant thinks he already knows who is going to explain anything to him. Who is going to explain anything to him? If an ignorant person does ask, he just asks to prove you're wrong, because the ignorant presumes he knows everything and wants to see whether you know it or not. अपने लाइफ में देखना है ना, an ignorant person will always try to prove you wrong. अपना बात ऊपर रखेंगे हमेशा. Always they keep their words on the top. Right? The ignorant person are always testing their masters. Always. They will ask questions to test their gurus. These are ignorant. अविद्या बोलते हैं ना, जिसके पास विद्या नहीं होता है, अविद्या लोग जो होते हैं ना, जिनकी ज्ञान नहीं होता है, they are always taking परीक्षा of their masters. They are always doubting Thomas, they say. But at the same time, they're doubting Thomas, trying to make other people, putting them down. Ashtavakra must have thought, no, Janak's eyes is very clear. Even though he is an emperor, he asked me, an unknown, unfamiliar boy at the age of 12, oh Lord, please explain to me. No, he is very humble. He is not ignorant. And he is not an idiot even. 4 types of people. Idiots don't have any idea that there is any problems in life. The idiots hote hain na, the 4th type of people. They don't even know that there is problems in life. Everything is just khao piyo maja karo. Manmoji. There is similarities between idiots and enlightened beings. This is very important to understand. That too, the similarities between an idiot and an enlightened being. For enlightened ones, no problem remains. Remember that. These are something which everyone needs to remember. Something to write about. Seeker or ignorant ko chodo. But there are 2 types of beings which is in everyone's life. One is an enlightened being and one is an idiot. Right? I'm saying that word idiot because it is true. What does idiot mean? You go and look for the word idiot in a dictionary, you would understand what does idiot mean. Very simple, right? So what is the comparison between the idiot and an enlightened being? An enlightened one have gone beyond problems, right? जो आत्मज्ञानी होते हैं ना, वो सारा प्रॉब्लम से आगे चले जाते हैं. The idiots have not entered any problem yet. Remember that. Enlightened beings are so conscious. Idiots are very unconscious, right? How can they even ask a question? Will an idiot ask a question, what is wisdom? Will an idiot ask a question, what is liberation? Will an idiot ask a question, what is non-attachment? And if an idiot asks, does he ask how to fulfill his, all what they will ask an idiot is how to fulfill their passion, their desires, their wants, materialistic, samsari log. All what they go to a guru and all what they will ask is give me this, give me this, give me this. Why it's not happening? Blame game, blame game, blame game. They're always pointing fingers. They will always, everyone is wrong but them. They are right. That's the quality of an idiot. Ashtavakra says, Janaka is good, everything. Everything is good. He's not even a, but he is very close and very close to enlightenment. First thing that what it is being said about fulfilling the passion. First thing, liberation. Now an idiot asks how to make a simple chain into a golden chain. That's an idiot's question. But a jnani, an enlightened being, won't even want a chain, let alone it's gold or just ordinary, right? So that are the qualities of it. What is then, who is this Janaka? If he is not an idiot, if he is not a ignorant being, if he is not a jnani, then what he is? What is exactly, what do we name that person? Also, if he is not a seeker, what it is that he is? Ashtavakra got so overwhelmed by looking at that beautiful person, Janaka, and he said to himself, this is just a divine plan. He is none other than a mumuksha. Mumuksha means a seeker of truth. Mumuksha, the person who is seeking for truth, they are called mumuksha. The word mumuksha needs to be understood. Mumuksha is that desire for liberation, that desire for moksha. Right? Anyone who is a mumuksha, they have the desire for liberation, means they want to be free. They want to share the moha, means what is moha? 3 types of illusion which I said, 3 types of connection which I said. The first type of connection is illusion outside of you, ill vision. Second is delusion, dual vision. Third is maya, ignorant beings. These are the 3 type of people. But Janaka is beyond it. He is a mumuksha. He is only searching for freedom. Still he has not reached liberation. He is not a jnani. He is not standing with the back towards liberation. He is not an idiot. He is not sitting stuck to any traditions or ideas about liberation. He is not ignorant being. He is a mumukshu. Mumukshu means that his inquiry is simple and straightforward. It is neither corrupted with anything. He is not twisting anything. All what he is trying to unlearn what he has learned all this lifetime. And every one of us which is sitting down here, I'm pretty sure you want to unlearn. When you become a true Atmajnani, there is no caste, creed, religion, all those things which you have learned. Because Atmajnanis don't have anything to do with any caste, creed, religion. Everyone, just like they get the food, they get the air, they get the water, whatever the universe provides, it doesn't provide to anybody else just like that or without that. It's provided to everyone. The sun shines on everyone, or it only goes to the Indians, or it only goes to the rich people. Sunshine is gone to everybody. The river which we are swimming in, Ganga, is for everybody. That's what earth is all about, right? The air which we breathe in is for everyone. The floor which we are sitting, it is for everybody. This earth. So as we go along, Ashtavakra said, this being, he has got everything. But what he is wanting is freedom, moksha. He is the true seeker. He is mumukshi. So then Ashtavakra said, now I will answer your questions. So I'll just do one verse and we'll finish it. Okay, everyone? What is the time now? Wonderful. Acha. So the first verse which Ashtavakra now replies to Janaka. He says, Muktim ichhasi cheta tata vishayam vishvataja shama arjava daya tosham satyam piyusha vata bhaja. Ashtavakra said to Janaka with a beautiful smile, O beloved one, O pure souls, O pure soul, O Atmajnani, if you want liberation, then renounce the Vishayas, the passion as Visha, poison, and take forgiveness, innocence, compassion, contentment, and truth as the nectar. If you want liberation, then renounce the Vishaya. Vishaya means what? All the things which we are thinking about, all the objects, material objects, and all the things, thoughts, all those things. If you want liberation, then renounce the Vishayas, the passions, as wish. Wish means what? Poison. If you see everything in our life, everything has an end, right? And everything which we have in our life either give us happiness or either it will make us miserable. Love to anybody stays only for a certain time. When someone gets married, Swami says very beautifully, first 6 months, wife is life. After 6 months, wife is knife. होता है ना? Husband is great, but he has to bend. Vishal is thinking, my God, what have I done? It's not about that. You can't leave your wife. You can't leave your family. You can't leave your passion. But don't get too attached with all what you have. This is what this verse is all about. What Ashtavakra is teaching. You have this whole kingdom over here. You are the king with the crown. But you should not get attached with that crown, that kingdom. Ashtavakra is teaching us as it goes along. He says, if you want liberation, then renounce the Vishaya, the passion of Visha, as Visha means poison. The word Vishaya is very meaningful. It derives from Visha, which is poison. The meaning of Visha is a substance which, if one eats it, will die. Visha means poison. Any poison which you will drink, what happens? What it does? Ram Nam Satya Hai. That's what it does. So, the meaning of Vishaya is that which, if we consume it, we die again and again. Each time we are so attached to the things we have, it makes you die. I will talk about it. If we take food, as I say, again and again, what happens? It gives you lots of energy, but at the same time, it's giving you something which is making you more sick. Time comes when you have a stomach problem. At the beginning, you ate heaps of masala when you were young. When you come older, what happened? That masala, you have to take some tablets, gastric tablets. When I was young, I used to do this. Used to play so much outside. Playing soccer. Playing lots and lots of games. So attached and so caught up, don't want to stay home, always in the playground. Out of the house. So passionate about my desire, which I loved, game. But what happened? That game never stayed permanently. Now even I can't even run, I can't even walk. Let alone go into the playground and kick the ball. That desire, some calamity has come, that desire was just like a poison which was eating me. And that poison is that what we don't realize. We have so many things in our life, we don't realize that there is an end to everything which we have. So that's what Ashtavakra is saying over here. We die again and again with ambition. We die because of anger. We die because of hatred. We die because of jealousy. And we are consuming this hatred and anger and jealousy. And we are dying every day, every moment by having all sorts of vices in our life. Right? That's what we are dying of. And it's very subtle. You are all Gyanis, remember that. This is not over here which I'm teaching just for the samsaris. This is for the Gyanis, what you need to know. We have died again and again and again and again. Since the day we have been born, we are dying. Up till now, we have known living of life. Every time we say, I'm living a life. Isn't that true? This is a life. What a great life I have. Right? We have only knowing what is life. But remember, we have been knowing what is death as well. Right? As Atma Jnani, you know what is death. Right? All the time, as I say, that we are not living, but we are dying day by day by day. Where is the true power within ourselves is, right? There is only things which are disturbing our peace. And that's what we need to. It is not our birth which we have, but it is the death of the body which we have, which is dying daily.